May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host, and a man who says after the 2020 that we've had, bring on the murder hornets. Bring the hornets, man. Our show producer Paul B is running in place. He's sheltering in place. He's not on the show right now. Basically, I record the show and send to him, and then he packages it together and puts it all up there. But we miss talking to Paul, and hopefully he's doing well. I get reports, I get handwritten letters every once in a while that just have a phrase or two, those kind of things. You have to it's like memento. You have to kind of put it together, and that's how you realize what happened to Paul, where he's at, what he's doing, that sort of thing. So we miss Paul. Hopefully we'll get him back on the show here real soon. So who am I? What do I do? How do you reach me? So I run a public relations and branding firm in Orange County, California called Robertson Communications, Robertson.com. The way to reach me is shoot me an email at scott@robertson.com, 2M's like communications.com, or you can find me on Twitter at Robertson.com. All my stuff is there, and also facebook.com/Robertson.com, 2M's like communications. And the website, of course, is, no surprise, www.robertson.com. There you go. I'm also a certified story brand guide now, and so I spend a lot of my time creating awesome brand stories, website wireframes, sales copy, public relations stuff for all of my clients. So you guys are super smart because you tuned into a good one. This is episode 157 of the big show. And I call this one, Gimme 3 Steps to a Better Website. And so, most websites, and I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if you are familiar with this or not, or you think this or not, but most websites really suck. They're old. They are outdated. They are unclear. They are full of so much marketing bull crap that you have to just run a mental marathon of calories to even figure out what the hell they just said. And most people just aren't going to do that. They're just not going to do it. So we're going to discuss, kind of how that happened, and, and I'm going to leave you with today the 3 things that I think you can do right now to make sure yours isn't, is above the fold, and not caught in some of these terrible ones. Of course, we're going to have time to dive into who's winning and losing. This is going to be another robust yet airy episode of May the Best Brand Win. So you tuned into a really good one here today. So let's talk about, websites, have been around for a long time now, basically since let's just say, I don't know, late 90s, mid to late 90s, when websites really, company websites we're talking about. And at first it was just like, hey, let's get something up there. Let's make sure we have a website. Let's get something up there that represents us, that kind of thing. And you'd be surprised here in 2020, there are still some companies that have just that basic amount of, here's our phone number, and here's basically kind of what we do, and send something. And like their, first cousin, designed it for free on Wix or something. So, there's a lot of that. Right. And then there was a phase where people went through and said, well, let's make our website really cool. Let's do a lot of really cool stuff. Let's, let's add in, let's figure out a way to add in videos. Let's figure out how to really design these things and make it good. And web designers can make a lot of things, just jump and be awesome. So we talked about on the show a lot of times. The problem with the website isn't the fact that it's designed poorly necessarily. It's that the message sucks. And there's no web designers are good at taking what you tell them and then making something out of it. But they suck at creating marketing messages because that's not their training. They haven't read one book on the subject. They have no education in how to do it. They have no idea how to do it, to be honest. I know a lot of them and love them, salt of the earth, love you guys. But, that's not what you do. And when you try to do it and you can't do it, that's why the whole website's going to be bad. And then another thing that happens is companies try to get the marketing department involved. And they say, let's get marketing involved. Let's see what we can do on this thing. And marketing, God bless their hearts, but they make things that are cute and clever and fancy and in all the wrong ways sometimes. And it's just BS. We're gonna review some in a few minutes, and I'm gonna show you some that the marketing department obviously had a say in doing. And I don't know what makes it okay for marketers. Your first job as a marketer. Let me be honest with you. Your first job as a marketer is you're going to be clear. You want to be clear. If you are, sender, receiver, message, feedback, right? So if you're the sender and you're sending the message to receiver and they don't get it and they don't understand it, then you failed, right? That's your failure. That is marketing's failure. And I think that marketing blows it all the time because they get bored themselves and they just start putting a bunch of buzzwords and crap in when they should just be using clarity. I'm going to show you a few in a minute. So, and I think that's where we are in websites today. Websites today are, we need to be clear above all else. I think most people will say that you have about a second or two of somebody's attention before they're going to jump off and go somewhere else. So if you can't clearly demonstrate why you're the best fit and why you're solving their problem, then they're going to be gone. There's no doubt about it. So anyway, let's take a look at a few. The first one I want to look at, you guys familiar with Suzanne Collins? She is an author. She's written a lot of big books that you've heard of, like the Hunger Games series. She's a #1 USA Today bestseller, New York Times bestseller, Wall Street Journal bestseller. I've seen she wrote these huge books, right? Now, her website sucks at a level that I can barely describe to you. Okay, for a writer, especially who has an advantage out of the gate in being clear. This website looks like it was designed by a 12-year-old. It is terrible. It is SuzanneCollinsBooks.com. And it basically has a homepage. It looks like an Amazon store. It has pictures all over the place. It has a few reviews. There's no connection between any of it. And it just looks like an eccentric author that doesn't know how websites work. You click on her biography and you get, a bad headshot. I mean, you wrote the Hunger Games. Spring for a headshot. Honest to God. And, there's like an interview with what somebody did with Scholastic Press, and this is like where our books are going to be. And she's writing a book right now called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, right? And that's coming, here in 2020. It's about to come out. But I use this one as an example. I stumbled across this one, and I was like, that can't possibly be her actual website. It is. That is her website. It is god awful. Somebody like that, an author of that level, needs to have a clear website. And honestly, if I was doing this website, all you have to do is just say the award-winning #1. All the things that she says in text that look terrible here. You just show a picture of the Hunger Games, symbol, the Mockingjay symbol or whatever, and then just say I wrote this and all these other things. And then, here's the rest of my books or whatever. But, this website is terrible. It's a great example to me of, the website needs to be a priority. People are going to go check out your website. If you check out this website, you're probably not going to buy her books, and certainly not from this website. So it's like you have to kind of question why the hell is that even there? All right. Next one we're going to do. Next one is, binsforless.com, BINS4LESS.com, binsforless.com. And this may be a potential client of mine coming up. So I wanted to show it to you because it's going to be much better once we get going with it. Basically, this is a company that rents dumpsters out. If you're a homeowner, you're doing a big construction project, you need to have something in front of your house to collect the mess while you're doing it, and then they need to take it away and get rid of the waste when you're finished. Right? It's a valuable service. It's important. Well, the website, I mean, it looks like it was created in the early 2000s. It is, it's not good. It doesn't instill any kind of faith in you in what's going on. It has a Flash video running. Flash is a security risk for a lot of browsers, to be honest. So it has, it just lists the sizes of dumpsters that they have. It shows the areas that they cover, and it shows the phone number and it shows the email. And the email address is binsforless@aol.com. That's a no-no. That's a no-no. Serious businesses don't have an AOL.com address listed on their website because it's actually not the early 2000s anymore. It's not, or it's not the late 90s, and AOL is not a thing. So no. When we get finished doing this one, I want to come back and talk about it because talk about it before and after. There actually is a good story here. But you have to burn so many mental calories to get to it that it's going to be difficult to do that. And there's also a typo in the menu where it says contact us. It doesn't have the T on contact. I mean, that's real basic, right? I mean, this company told me that they have an SEO company and a digital marketing company, and they're spending thousands of dollars on SEO and digital stuff. And the digital marketing company didn't notice there's a missing T in contact. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, man. Come on, man. You know what I mean? So, yeah, got to do better than that. All right, let's take out. Let's look at one that we're sure the marketing department wrote. This is lightwellinc.com, Lightwell Consulting Services. Now you hit this website first, and you see their logo, you see their menu, that looks good, contact us, about us, that kind of thing. Then it has that same stuff duplicated above. I'm not a fan of navigation above and below. It's like, get it done in one nav bar. Honestly, why do you have two? That's weird. The next one is, then it says application development, custom software solutions, enterprise, web, and mobile applications. Then it has another navigation point where it says B2B integration and MFT, omnichannel and OMS, data analytics, IT consulting, IT staffing. Developing impactful applications that address complex business requirements. What? I'm sorry, what? What the hell do you do again? Remember when we talked about StoryBrand, we talked about bowling balls. Every piece of inside jargon, inside baseball information that you hand to somebody while they're running on a treadmill trying to understand your message is like handing them an 8-pound bowling ball covered in Vaseline. Okay, so there's no way in hell they're going to be able to hang on to it. There's no way they're going to understand what an MFT is and a OMS is, and also you're assuming a level of understanding of your website that does not exist. It's not there. Don't do that, right? What would you say instead? You say, we write software. We write software that does stuff for people, and it does this. It does this. Illustrate by example. Don't have a bunch of marketing related crap. Let me read you some more of the crap on this website. Drawing upon decades of experience across many industries, our team delivers scalable, secure, reliable applications that address even the most complex business requirements of global and Fortune 1000 companies. What? We leverage agile methodologies, repeatable development processes, and best practices to develop solutions that minimize time to market, deliver high-quality user experiences, minimize cost and risk, optimize quality and performance for our clients. Bullshit. I mean, none of that stuff talks about why I'm here. What's my problem? What am I trying to solve? How the hell are you fitting into my problem? And people are punting out of this website, I guarantee you, because they're like, there's a chart that says SDLC. It's our software development lifecycle. Tech people, you got to listen up here, okay? You can assume a little bit of knowledge of technology, but you're always better off. You are always better off dumbing it down. You're always better off. You're taking a risk every single time that you put 3-letter acronyms and 4-letter acronyms on your website. You're taking a risk that somebody's going to say, well, that doesn't concern me, so I'm out. There's a puppy video. There's a video about murder hornets over here. I'm going to watch that and screw that website. You got to be better than that. You got to be better than that with the website. This website is a great example of a website that's pretty and looks okay and has some of the things and has the right privacy policies and those kind of things. Looks like it was written by the marketing department, but it does not communicate. It doesn't tell any sort of a story, and I still don't. And I work in technology, and I still don't know what the hell you do. So that's a loser, right? Let's look at another one. This is a company that I ran into called Bike Zero. Go to www.bikezero.com. Now, they develop a really cool fold-up electric bike. It's neat. It's kind of small. It folds up. You could take it with you. It's, if it's almost like the bike version of like an electric scooter kind of thing, but it folds up, so it's kind of cool. Now, here's what they say about it. They say, redefining tomorrow's micromobility. What the hell is redefining tomorrow's micromobility, ladies and gentlemen? That's a marketing statement that doesn't mean crap to anyone. It doesn't mean anything. So then they say, welcome to the state-of-the-art next generation of micromobility, which no one knows what you mean. Through cutting-edge technology and design, Bike Zero Ring takes a leap into the future. You haven't told me what my problem is. What's my problem? What does an electric bike that folds up do for me? I'll just throw a few things out there. I don't have to have a car. In a big city, this is an alternative to a car for me. I don't have to take mass transit. Let's say I live in New York City where the coronavirus has spread like the friggin' Black Plague because of everybody's reliance on mass transit. Do you think it might possibly be a decent message to tell people that they could avoid mass transit where everybody doesn't wash their hands and everything and use a Bike Zero bike to get around as an alternative to the subway? But they don't say that. Right? They say we're next generation micromobility. They're making me run on the treadmill and they're handing me bowling balls while I'm doing it. And I'm like, I don't know. This is a bunch of marketing driven crap. I don't know what you're saying. The product is cool. Like I said, I ran into them. I think the product is cool. I rode the product. The product is super cool. The pricing of the product is great. They're shipping the thing. Their marketing sucks. It's terrible. It's you can't understand what it is they're trying to say. And the website is pretty. I mean, it's got nice pictures. It's got interesting things, but the message is awful. God awful messaging. We got to fix this, folks. This stuff is the easiest stuff in the world to fix. And we don't fix it enough, honestly. That's just a few examples of websites. By the way, if you see some, go ahead and email me at scott@robertsoncom.com and we can talk messaging of websites. I do messaging reviews, by the way. If you have a company and you think your website was written by the marketing department and it completely sucks and doesn't make any sense or whatever, give me a shout and send it to me and I'll tell you what you should do. Sometimes companies hire me to come in and rewireframe the website out. Honestly, all of you web developers out there, you need a messaging element to it. Because if you think, I'm just going to get it from the client, you will not. They don't know. And if you don't know how to get it out of them, then your work is going to be their bad message, and all of your work together is going to blow as bad as all of these websites blow right here. So just, don't do that, is what I would say. Make sure you have a messaging element to it. It doesn't cost much to get messaging folks involved. Get a branding person, get a messaging person involved, and look at the message and say, or just, and look at it yourself and say, does this say anything? Is there don't settle for redefining tomorrow's micromobility and other bullshit-esque, type of phrases like that don't exist and don't communicate anything. So anyway, we're going to come back and talk about who's winning and losing, but stick around for segment 3 because I'm going to give you 3 steps for how to do your own little website revamp. Coming back in a few. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. You are still tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host. And we're talking about the evolution of websites. We're talking about giving you 3 steps for a better website in this program. And we talked about some websites that weren't really getting it done in the first segment. But we're going to take a break, as we always do in segment 2, and dig into who's winning and losing. So let's do that without further ado. And Ticketmaster. So Ticketmaster's losing this week because they furloughed hundreds of employees as part of a $500 million cost reduction plan. Now, Ticketmaster, which is, hated by all people that go to live events, they've had to furlough, hundreds of employees, making a lot of cuts because, there aren't going to be any concerts, coming up and obviously concerts and live events industry are going to be hit the most by this virus deal. So they had to furlough a lot of employees. They're, here's what I wanted to call your attention to. They talk about the reduction in the use. Here's a quote from Live Nation about the furloughs. They said the reduction in the use of contractors, rent renegotiations, furloughs, and elimination of other discretionary spending is in our plan to save $500 million in 2020. Yeah, I don't know. It's all kinds of losing. I mean, I certainly get it. To me, it seems like a company like Ticketmaster or Live Nation would be looking for ways to, what is the future of live events going to be? For this year, for future years, that kind of stuff. And maybe for future years, it's this thing is gone, and we never talk about it again. Who knows? But I got to say that they're losing this week because, almost anytime you see Ticketmaster doing anything, there's a lot of negative feelings generated towards them. Oh, let's talk about the economy. So Steve Munchkin, I can't even say his name, but he's the Treasury Secretary guy. He believes that the economy will swiftly bounce back over the summer, and he basically says that small businesses will begin to reopen in May and June, and the economy will quickly rebound in July, August, and September. And then he uses some interesting words. He said, this is not a financial crisis, or this is not the financial crisis. He says it's a scenario where we close the economy and now we're going to open the economy. Interesting. I think that's all kinds of winning, right? That every one of us is waiting for like the go ahead from somebody, and we'll take the Treasury Secretary's word on it that things are going to be okay. I found in my experience that the economy is driven by a lot of perception. If people think it's going great, then it's going great for them, and it goes great. If people start to think it's not going well, then they start to hold on to their money and not spend, and then the economy sort of dies. Right? It's a creature of perception, and that's why that term media recession is so poignant, during these times. But for right now, winning, and looks like going to be winning into the summer, according to them. There's a couple of companies that declared bankruptcy this week, and they're losing. J. Crew, the preppy retailer, they filed for bankruptcy protection with a plan to hand over control to lenders. Just another brick and mortar retailer that's, in trouble. They're all kinds of losing. And also Neiman Marcus, the big luxury retailer, Neiman Marcus, filed for bankruptcy. One of the highest profile collapses among retailers and they're going to, obviously they had temporarily closed stores and that sort of thing. Retail's tough. Man, retail is a business that you have to just eat nails to be good at retail because the margins are so tight and everything. And it's such a hard business to make money at. And, I credit anybody that tries to, make money and drive a successful business that's dependent on retail. A lot of changes. And then obviously this thing comes out of nowhere and really, messes you up. But there's a couple of folks that are losing this week, obviously declaring bankruptcy. Maybe, as we've seen like with Toys R Us and stuff, bankruptcy for a retailer doesn't always mean they're going to completely go out of business. It means they're going to restructure the debt. It means they're going to do some other some other things. They're going to do some layoffs or close some stores, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be gone. It means that they will try to emerge from bankruptcy and live on in some form, or somebody else could come in and take the debt and that wants to buy the brand. Right. Neiman Marcus is a fantastic brand. So some other large retailer could say, yeah, we'll take all the Neiman Marcus stores and that, and they could come in and buy the debt and thus buy the company. So that could happen. Oh man, there's a story in USA Today this week about Mattel's making a new line of action figures and toys that are little people figurines that are doctors, nurses, emergency medical technicians, grocery workers, and delivery drivers. And you can buy these like thank you heroes sets that'll be shipping by year's end. The 16 action figures have doctors, nurses, EMTs, delivery drivers, various genders and skin colors. And Fisher-Price is offering a special 5-character little people set of a doctor, a nurse, an EMT, grocery store worker, and delivery driver. Now, and I think this is winning, and I think it's great to, honor healthcare personnel. But I have to ask the Tom Hanks and Big question on this. It's like, do kids really want to play? Yay, let's play COVID-15 outbreak outside, and I mean. Under what circumstances are kids, going to play little people emergency hospital for COVID-19? And what parents are going to allow this sort of play is my secondary follow-up question. I think sometimes that Mattel gets excited as public relations department says, we're going to make a new line of action figures and toys. But like, you have to ask the Tom Hanks question. What's fun about that? What's fun about a pandemic? If you can't make a pandemic fun by putting a bunch of toys in kids' hands and having them build a temporary hospital and take care of people on ventilators, now it comes with its own, Fisher-Price ventilator. No. Good to thank the heroes in some way, but you're making a bunch of toys that kids aren't going to play with. And let's be perfectly honest, shouldn't be playing with. Right? We love doctors. We think they're our heroes and that kind of thing, but that's pretty serious stuff for little kids. Have Superman have Superman fight Spider-Man and, have the superheroes come in there and He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and that kind of stuff. I mean, let's keep it in the fantasy realm. I think for most kids, that's kind of what it's going to end up being. And my last one today, I did want to talk about, musicians are trying to figure out how are they going to do what they do in this sort of new world, right? Erykah Badu in Variety this week, there's an interesting story about how she's doing her kind of quarantine concerts and how she's charging for them. She's charging her fans for them. She has a list. She's, running basically, an operation. And then she runs these, little things kind of from a set that looks like it's been designed. And she's basically just kind of sitting on a little bed here doing, playing music. And I think that's really cool. And I think that a lot of, artists are going to, we talked about at the beginning with Ticketmaster and Live Nation, we know that artists aren't going to have the same, ability to reach their audiences. So the question is, how are they going to reach those audiences, and what's that going to look like? And obviously, if Erykah Badu is selling tickets direct to her concerts, she's cutting Ticketmaster and Live Nation and all those people completely out of the equation. So anyway, I thought it was interesting. It's a good story. I don't have time to get into the whole thing, but go to Variety.com and you can find the Erykah Badu story. It's by Jim Oswald and it's called Live from Lockdown: How Erykah Badu and Other Musicians Are Finding New Ways to Connect in the Coronavirus Age. A lot of examples in there, and I thought it was pretty cool. And anyway, and that's who's winning and losing this week, folks. Right now, you're tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Inner Talk. Come on back, and I'm going to give you 3 steps for your website revamp. See you in a few. Happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host. We've been talking about better websites, talking about how to get better websites this whole show today. We just did Who's Winning and Losing. That was kind of fun. And now, without further ado, I'm going to give you 3 steps. Give you 3 steps, mister, towards your own personal website revamp. As will come as no surprise, as I talk about all the time, step number 1 is what? Clarify your message, right? It doesn't matter how good your website is if it's unclear. We talked about in the first segment, if you go to a website and you don't immediately know what they do, you're gone. You're going to be gone in a few seconds. It's got to be clear. It's got to be super clear. My website now says professional public relations and branding and marketing services, right? We're talking about professional services, per service company. Who's it for? You go a little bit deeper for that. But you want people to know that you're on a service provider's website, you're on a professional services company's website, and we want to be clear about that, right? Because before I just had May the Best Brand Win on my website. And I thought, well, people know because it says brand win. And then Don Miller from StoryBrand basically, took me aside and said, well, you could be anything. He goes, you could be a sign maker. I mean, you could make, premiums. It's like, you need to be really clear about what you do. And I like the website a lot better now that I've added in a statement that says, this is what this website's about. Like caveman simple stuff, right? Professional services company, boom. And then you're moving on, right? And you're figuring out what, where this is a fit, that sort of thing. So clarify that message. The message, you just can't do that enough. You can't do that enough. If you're a web developer and you're listening to me, make sure your client has clarified the message for you. You got to ask the right questions. You got to have the right training to be able to do that. If you're a web company and you're struggling with messaging, call a company like me. I love to work alongside web firms, and have the conversation with the client, get the information, create a better message. And then I hand them a much better message so they can do their job. And I guarantee you, if you do that stuff without me, your website's going to blow. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad no matter what kind of web designer you are. You could be, the Leonardo da Vinci of website, development in 2020. And the bottom line is it's going to suck if you don't get the message from the client. And the client, here's another just tip from me to you. The client doesn't know the message. They know their version of the message, but they're not thinking about the customer. They're not thinking, they're thinking about, other things, I don't know, sometimes it's their own ego. Sometimes they're thinking about their why. I think executive coaches screw people over too, because they spend a lot of time talking about, doing a lot of ego stroking and navel gazing type of activities that are like this. Well, tell me what your why is and tell me why you went into this business. And it's so fascinating and people will be so fascinated in your story. Allow me to save you the trouble. People are not interested in that crap. They're interested in what, psychology fans? What are human beings most interested in? Themselves, their own stuff. They don't care that you started the company, that you inherited the company from grandpa and that kind of thing. They may mildly care about that. Once you've solved their problem, maybe they'll stay on the brand carousel and learn a little bit more about you or whatever, but that's not going to get you any type of an audience, right? I mean, that's like a band that shows up, you show up to see a band and they say, before we play any music for you guys to dance to, I thought I would spend about 10 or 20 minutes just going into my own personal background. I was born in Jonesboro, Arkansas in 1970 in a hospital room, and it was dimly lit, and it was really it was really a wonderful night. My mother said that, I came out. I mean, everybody would get up and leave, right? Because what are they there for? What problem are you there to solve if you're in a band? You're there to get, people together, so they can dance together. You're there to facilitate alcohol sales and that sort of thing. And so how do you do that? Do you do that by talking about your own background for 15 minutes? No. You start playing music. You start playing Brick House. You start playing, Gimme 3 Steps. You start playing some stuff. And then the people start dancing and they start drinking, and you've done your job. That is what you're supposed to do, right? And so just back, in the talking about websites, clarify your message. I'm going to recommend some books for you. So let's dig it up here. So this is Marketing Made Simple by Don Miller. Donald Miller. It's fantastic book. It's an easy read. It's great. It talks about the story brand format. I love the story brand format. Every business owner should be using story brand. Absolutely awesome. Also, not the first book that Don Miller wrote, Building a Story Brand. Fantastic book. Absolutely, it's just so solid, and it teaches business owners how to start to figure out how to tell a story, right? And I love implementing that stuff for business owners. So anyway, clarify your message. Number 2, wireframe your website. And that means this frame here, one 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 frame here, and make sure it tells a story. Make sure it tells us, it tells the a story branded kind of story, right? You go to some websites and the first frame needs to have what do you do, obviously, and be clear about it. A clear statement about what it is. Roofing contractors. It should almost be like almost like a generic descriptor of what you do. That would be good because it's nice and clear, right? And then it should have a call to action button in the upper right hand corner. And you got to have that, right? Because people see what you do. They want to learn more. Maybe they're not going to spend time with the entire website, but maybe they'll hit that button and they'll go to your call and they'll go to your call to action kind of thing. And sometimes there can be a secondary call to action. It's usually good if you have like a kind of a passive call to action for some people as well. Depends on the kind of business too, to be honest. If you're selling a product, you're selling speakers or something, and you're like, here's what's going on with, we sell speakers. Here's speaker A, speaker B, speaker C, whatever. And then here's a button where you can buy those things. Make that stuff as easy as possible for people. But you want to wireframe that site out, and you want to make sure it tells a complete and a good story. Like we talked about in the story brand format, a character, your customer, a character has a problem, right? They meet a guide who has a plan, who calls them to action and shows them a vision of the world that is, successful, and also reminds them of a world that could not be successful, where failure could, enter into the place if they don't do business, if they're, you must show the consequences of not doing business with you. That's what I mean when and each one of those needs to be a frame of your website. Really, really important stuff. And really, and great websites tell great stories like that. But you got to start with good, clear, almost generic, descriptive language, which would be great. Clear is always great. My first step, clarify the message. Second step, wireframe that site out and make sure it tells a story. My third step, you want to build it and test it. You want to, you want to get it built, make sure it works great. You have great visuals. You have licenses for all those visuals. You don't want to use unlicensed. I see that too. I see people use like stock photos from Google Images. Don't do that. And especially not on your own website. That's not legal. You need to pay people for copyrights. Plenty of stock libraries out there where you can buy a license and license videos and photos and things that you need for your site. And you need to do that. That's really, this is an asset of your company. So it absolutely needs to be something that you own a license for and that kind of thing. You don't ever want to, be in those waters anyway. So you've built the site. It looks good. It tells a story. It's clear. then you want to test it. Make sure you want to test it, make sure it loads fast. Web developers are real good at, one of the first things one of my friends, a web developer, says, I always look at load speed. Load speed's got to be fast. Fast. Is it fast enough that on a 4G network, on mobile network, is it going to load in a couple of seconds? Because if you're making people wait, they're gone. They're going to be gone somewhere else, right? And Google also penalizes sites that take too long to load. They do load speed tests and all that kind of stuff. So you want to, when I say testing, you want to make sure, you're the sender. You're going to make sure the receiver gets the message, understands it, and are they moving in a direction that you want to see them move on your website? Are they moving towards a call to action that you've put out there? Are they moving towards, giving you their email address so that you can stay in touch with them and you can send them more valuable information and more content and those kind of things? So, so we clarify, we wireframe the website, tell a story with it, we build it, we test it, and then we have a great website. And then, kind of hidden tip number 4 is the fact that you evolve it. You evolve it. And one of the things I do for my clients is your website should not be a static thing that you never go back to. It should be something where, hopefully you're doing some storytelling on your blog. I have a client that's a lawyer, and every week we cover a new story that is a dispute somehow in the legal system. And what we do is we want to remind people that disputes are everywhere. And when disputes happen, we remind them that this particular attorney is out there as a business litigator that could help them, especially if those things are causing them stress or causing them, anxiety, or when those things become a threat to you, then we want them to know this is an attorney that you can call and you can trust. And what's great about that is that when you go to that website, it doesn't just say, here's some of the cases we represent, here's some of the clients we represent, here's kind of things. It actually has some engaging storytelling, to it that goes on a regular basis. And you can amplify those stories via social media, which is fantastic. And then it just keeps it keeps that attorney top of mind. When people are thinking about they need an attorney or whatever, they're thinking about that because we put out a story that entertained them or educated them or gave them something. And your website should have a place where you're able to kind of tell your story, where you're able to tell your larger story. I'm not talking about a blog where you're going to put up sales or anything that's like too much focused in on the company. But it's really, it's really something that you want to do. You want to have somebody in your company who's tasked with, let's regularly update the website with some blogs, some storytelling. Maybe we do podcasts, maybe we do videos, things like that, where the website sort of lives. On my website, robertsoncom.com, this show feeds in through a plugin, and every single episode of my show is available on my website. I do that on purpose because I do that because I want people to see my point of view, of marketing before they try to engage me on my work. Because if they're looking for somebody that's going to show up with sunshine and a basket of cookies, most regular listeners to the program know that is not me. I am practical. I'm pragmatic. I talk about results. I talk about stuff that works. I cut through marketing bull crap for a living. So, we absolutely don't, I want to make sure my website is really clear about what the experience of working with me is going to be. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the truth. It's going to be the truth and nothing but the truth. So that's just how I like to do it. So anyway, what have we learned, folks? We learned about we learned and we saw some really bad websites out there, and we saw a few good ones too. The difference is usually the message and the approach. Are you going to be cute? Are you going to be clever, fancy? Are you going to be factual? What are you going to do? The choice is yours, but just remember the audiences, are fickle. They don't want to juggle your bowling balls. They don't want to burn too many mental calories figuring out what you got going on. And they can click away from your site and your business just as soon as the next puppy or murder hornet video comes on. I saw a video yesterday of a murder hornet being taken down by a praying mantis. I highly recommend that video. That was some seriously violent biology coming to life right there on your screen. I mean, and you're competing with that, right? Your website has to compete with a friggin' praying mantis and a murder hornet. Anyway, that's it for me, folks. We'll see you next week with another super fun, awesome show. Have a great weekend. Thanks a lot. Bye.